When I started teaching Toby, and that was I think I taught my first lesson about 1985,
Yeah.
and we had three BBC Micros, a
Yes.
class of 35, 14-year-olds, and I was teaching them programming.
I know.
You know, and I was quite used to that model. You had some they were writing doing their programming, then they get on the computer and they'd share and everything else. And in the first early days, yeah, it was a general model that we would share computing because of scarcity. And there wasn't much of a problem with it. It was a way for students buddied up, and they got to know each other. But yeah, it did get really strangely broken as computer prices dropped.
Yes.
We were able to put, whole classrooms of them in, and then become the norm for every student to have their own computer in an IT suite.
But at the same time, they're no longer collaborating.
It's an excellent point. Yeah, it's an excellent point. I mean, they've got their personal mobile phones, but they're not intrusive anymore, are they? They're tablets to some extent as well, and laptops to some extent. They're not this. The IT suite become very a model of all that became bad in IT. I think in education,
What I
proliferated.
observed this year, what happened a lot was that I would give the students an exercise to do that was paper-based. A really simple one, I might say. Right, I want you to think of just plan a letter of complaint. You had a problem in a restaurant. A few things went wrong. Speak to each other first, right? So there's a group of three here. I want you to discuss possible things that could go wrong. Choose the ideas you want to discuss, you want to develop, and then write the letter.
Mm.
Students never spoke to each other, ever. They would sit down straight away and look at the piece of paper and try to draft a letter. They wouldn't talk to each other. And so I've spent a whole year now of, can you please discuss things?
Interesting. Yeah.
And it seems to me that this is now becoming, a skill. I think we're becoming de-skilled in things like this.
Yeah, we're not focusing on it enough. We're focusing on the technology and doing it, and maybe collaborating through the technology, but sitting down face to face, yeah, role play or something, yeah.
Yeah, that
Uh,
all of that's going away, and it has to come back in a way because um, what people, if you think about how we communicate online, really simple things like direct commands. Um, for example, if I say to you, could you email me? Could you email me your figures for last week? Now, that sentence on its own can be quite abrupt. So what we do now is we might use a bit of a filler beforehand and say things like, "Oh, Martin, I hope you had a great holiday." Smiley face. Could you give me the figures for last month?
yeah,
We learn to use, and we call them, emoticons.
yeah,
We're trying to show emotion online. And what that means is that students are now starting to lose the ability to communicate and to show emotions to each other.
yes.
We're used to reading it by text and we're used to responding, quick fire responses.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point.
Looking at facial expression, looking at body language, trying to figure out what's going on, and making a measured response that it could be to diffuse a situation or to put your case forward or to negotiate. All of these things are now gone. I'll
Yeah,
go,
it's like we are being prepared for our robot future to communicate better with robots in the
by
years,
telling them what to do.
or receiving commands and being told what to do as well. It's
Um,
it's very interesting to talk about emoticons because has become missing in a lot of online communications. The body language, facial expressions, and all those non-verbal communications. So we sling in a quick smiley and
yeah,
and martini symbol and things. I've seen a lot of that now happening on Twitter. In fact, I was thinking of doing it, but um, yeah, it's fascinating how that might overspill into our everyday lives. You know, because people are talking to each other, especially teens, and using hashtag bored or hashtag, they're using, and then maybe the emoticon smiley. Oh my God, I wonder what on earth. No. On the
Also,
other hand, though, it's
experienced a lot in class, which I thought was very interesting, is nobody ever says, this isn't an old man grump, it's you're not asking me for things anymore. Students don't ask me for things. They tell me.
hmm,
So it'll be, uh, give me a pencil. Sir, give me a pencil. It's not, sir, can I have a pencil? And I have to keep catching them out and saying, sorry, are you telling me to do this?
oh, yeah.
Are you sure you want to tell me to do this? It's not my place to be told. And I have to keep reminding them that you can't do that.
It's really, yeah, it's really interesting. Because in some of our employees that come from Eastern Europe, they're having trouble with English small talk. And and I was explaining that it's a cultural thing. It's like you were saying, it's the filler that
Yes.
oils. It's the oil, fluid, the
Yeah,
greases
it is. It's the lubricant,
communication,
social lubricant. Yeah.
social lubricant, and it has a valid function. But yeah, maybe it's been lost in some. I don't know whether anybody's looking at that. This is a fascinating idea that online communications, smartphones and all the rest of it, the effect it's having on face-to-face communication. I
Mm.
wonder if they're losing. There was something I was reading yesterday that teens are now spending up to 9 hours a day on their
Yeah, I saw the article. And again, going back to this, I'm not too sure whether it's a case of technology has overtaken it. I think it's a case of young people are not given enough role model. And I use that, in the singular. There aren't enough decent roles going around. They might see something on television, they might see films that show people interacting, but these things are scripted.
Yeah,
And the problem with scripting is that the writers can either script from their imagination or they can script from things that they've seen in real life. And if they just start scripting from imagination, then this isn't real, is it? This isn't how
yeah.
people actually dialogue. This isn't how people actually speak to each other. It's
No, you've actually reason I've kind of tuned into what you're saying there. I just remembered it just popped into my head because I've forgotten about it. But yeah, it was only yesterday as well. So when you get to my age, your memory starts to go. But I wrote down yes a blog post in the work somewhere, redefining e-learning as experiential learning. Not
oh,
this is exactly what you're talking about there, Toby. That we've still got a lot of online learning, the FELTAG stuff coming. Colleges being forced to blend their learning, which means generally the student's going to go to the learning centre and just read through a load of stuff and answer a load of multiple choice questions and
that's it.
have less face-to-face, less, experiential learning and more
Yes,
electronic learning. And I was just thinking, yes, the same ideas you were thinking of there, that it's substituting a lot for social communication.
that's
And,
right.
and one role of college, that people talked about, is that social interaction.
Well, it's what we're hoping for, isn't it? We're hoping that people are able to do that within their social group. And if staff hours are cut back, then there won't be a lot of extracurricular to allow those things to happen.
Yeah, yeah, and it becomes more managed learning toward performance managed learning towards achievements, and all those intangibles of college that aren't measured,
Oh
like
yeah,
will fall by the wayside perhaps. It's quite a fascinating area of discussion. This, in a sense.